Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you're doing well. I want to start out by expressing my gratitude for all your kindness, all your support. I can't tell you how much it means to me because, when I posted that message on YouTube community, I really wasn't looking for sympathy of any kind. I basically just wanted to let you know that I wanted to create more short form videos. And it's not that I'm taking anything away from this channel. I'm still going to create the long form videos where I chat with you face to face like I am right now. It's been very challenging with everything that's been going on within the beading community and also within my own life. One of them being that my cat hasn't been doing very well. He's been doing a lot of sleeping lately. I am in touch with the vet, so it's just part of the process. He's got kidney disease and he's an old cat. He'll be 17 in January. So I'm just taking it one day at a time. But anyway, between that and other things that have been happening, it's been very, very challenging these last few weeks. So anyway, your kindness and your unwavering support means the world to me. It really does. I really do appreciate it. Now, on a more positive note, I did get away to the beach a couple of weeks ago. I spent 1 week at Holden Beach, North Carolina, and I absolutely loved it. I really needed that break. But of course, whenever I get away, I always come back to a huge amount of work. My Etsy store was really busy the week that I came back, so I've been trying to stay on top of that. But I do want to mention a few things more about the short form videos. I added them to my YouTube channel because I wanted to find a way to offer more content to you. And that's the only way that I can do it. I can't create long form videos and offer them to you on a more regular basis. It's just impossible until I find a video editor, and I am looking for one. But for now, I'm doing everything. I'm doing the filming, I'm doing the photography, the video editing, the graphics work, everything. And it's very, very challenging. So that's all I wanted to do, guys, is to ask your permission. Well, maybe not permission, but approval anyway. To please give me a little bit of flexibility to offer more of the short form videos in addition to what I already have. I'm not taking anything away. Now, having said that, I did publish quite a few short form videos, 4 in a row. It was the bracelet series. And the reason I did those is because I wanted to continue to offer content while I was at the beach. It was either that or not publish anything, and I didn't want to do that. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed that series. I certainly enjoyed making it. I really had a good time, and I'm going to try to provide more content like that. But anyway, guys, I'm very excited today because we're going to be making a necklace using the beads from Sam's Bead Box for the month of September. And I'm super excited because I'm going to be using SilverSilk pipe chain, which I've never done before on this channel. So I'm hoping you like it. It's a very easy project and the final result is very, very beautiful. And if you're not familiar with Sam's Bead Box, I'll leave some information down below in the description section of this video. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. And here we have Sam's Bead Box for the month of September 2023. As you can see, the name of the box is Mid-Century Style. And if you haven't seen the unboxing video, I'll link it down below. So let me show you the beads and materials we're going to be using for today's project. Here are the items from the box. As you can see, we have a piece of SilverSilk pipe chain, but we're not going to use the entire piece. We're only going to use a small portion of it, probably about 4 inches. And this pipe chain has a rubber tube that's brown in color, and then it has golden knitted wire over the top of it. Isn't that cool? It's so cool. And here we have some 5 polished beads. They're 6 millimeters in size, and the color is emerald, and they have a distressed bronze effect on the surface. They're really pretty. I love these. Aren't these gorgeous? They really are. And here we have some English cut beads. They measure 3.5 millimeters, and the color is bronze. I like these as well. I like the size. And here we have 2 end caps, which we're going to use on the pipe chain. They measure 5 millimeters in size. And here we have some twist Brios. The box came with a set of 12, 6 in a bronze color and 6 in a hematite color. This is the bronze color. And these twist Brios measure 6 by 16 millimeters. And actually, we're not going to use all 6. We're only going to use 5 of them. And here I have a whole bunch of pebble chips. They're Czech glass pebble chips. And the color is green Picasso luster. And they measure 2.5 by 5 millimeters. And I'll make sure I list all of these materials down below in the description section of this video in case you didn't get the box. I'm not sure how easy it'll be to find these items. You could always go to Sam's online bead store and see if they have them there. Sometimes they do offer extras from bead boxes. We'll be using some craft wire today. The color of these 2 is vintage bronze and this one's gold. And I have 3 different gauges. I have 24 gauge, 22 gauge, and the gold one is 20 gauge. We're going to be using some seed beads today, and these are size 8/0 seed beads, and they're round seed beads. And believe it or not, the color of these seed beads is Duracoat galvanized pewter, but you wouldn't think so in looking at it because it looks pretty gold to me. And these actually coordinate really well with the pipe chain color. So don't get too hung up on the names of the colors because sometimes the actual color doesn't match the name. And here I have some beading wire. This one's by Beadsmith, but I'm not particular about the brand. This one's pretty thick though, it's 0.024 of an inch. You could certainly use something thinner if you wanted to, but we're going to be inserting it into the pipe chain. And since the pipe chain is kind of stiff, you need something that's a little bit heavy duty. You don't want to use really thin beading wire on something that's a little bit stiff like the pipe chain. We're also going to use some crimp tubes, some crimp tube covers, some wire guardians, jump rings, and a lobster clasp. But I'll pull those out later on when we get ready to attach them. So now that we've gone over the materials, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start by creating some dangles, and these are the beads we're going to use. We're going to create a total of 5 dangles. So let me show you what I had in mind. So this is what I had in mind, and I've arranged these beads like this because I wanted the dangles to be graduated in length, but I didn't want them to be too long. And I'm going to actually use these little beads on the strands of the necklace as well, so the whole thing will coordinate really nicely. So let me show you how to create one of these dangles. And by the way, this is my 22 gauge wire. I'm going to slide the wire through the Brio like this, bend the wire upward, and then cross it at the top of the Brio. Like this. And I'm going to bend this one this way, and this one this way. And now I'm going to create some wrap loops. So I'm going to grab the wire right where the 2 pieces of wire intersect, just to the left of it. And with another set, I'm going to grab this end and do a couple of wraps. Using my flush cutters, I'm going to snip off the excess. Tuck in that little sharp end. And this is what you should have. And now I'm going to slide this bead on, this pebble chip bead, and this fire polish bead. Just like that. Using round nose pliers, I'm going to grab the wire right where the bead is, kink it, switch to the thick portion of my pliers because I want a nice big loop, wrap the tail around the nose, flip the pliers around, continue to wrap to the back. And now I'm going to grab this loop with my skinny pliers, grab the tail, and do a couple of wraps. And I didn't give myself enough wire, unfortunately, but I can still do this. And now I'm going to snip off the excess. Tuck in the little sharp end. And this is my first dangle. And it's going to sit like this. I'm going to slide that loop onto the pipe chain. So you want the loop to be nice and big. The pipe chain is about, I think, 3.5 millimeters thick, something like that. So you definitely want to make sure that your loop is going to slide onto it. Let me just test it. And it slid on just fine. So now I'm going to do the same thing with the other 4. And to save time, I'm going to speed up the film. So here are my 5 dangles. Now one thing I didn't explain is that your loops need to be perpendicular to each other. Let me show you what I mean. The dangle is going to go onto the pipe chain like this. So I made sure that this loop is perpendicular to that one. So now we're going to move on to the next step. Let me get the materials for that. Now we're going to create these very attractive beads. I made them out of wire and they're just coiled. As you can see, I've already made 5 and we need 6. So now I'm going to show you how to make one. I have a piece of 20 gauge wire here and it measures 5 inches. And to make the coil bead, I'm going to use these memory wire finishing pliers. These are by Bead. I normally use these to make loops on memory wire, but I chose these because of the size of that barrel. It measures 4 millimeters in diameter, which is perfect for the pipe chain. So let me show you how we're going to do this. You want to place your wire between the barrels like this, making sure that it's nice and flush. And now I'm simply going to coil it. I'm going to go around twice. And now I'm going to stop right where the other end of the wire is. So this is what you should have. As you can see, I have 2 wraps. I have a 12-inch piece of 24 gauge wire, but we're actually only going to use 10 inches. The other 2 inches are going to be kind of wasted because you need something to hold on to, unfortunately, and that's the only way you can do it. So let me show you how to do this. I'm going to take the end and I'm going to place it right over the top of the 20 gauge wire like this. Now this first part's a little tricky. I'm going to do a couple of wraps and they're not going to be very neat. They're going to be kind of sloppy. Just like this. Like I said before, this part's going to be trimmed away. It's not going to be part of the finished bead. Now I don't have a very strong grip, unfortunately, so I'm going to use these nylon coated pliers to grab this end like this, right where the wraps are. And now I'm going to take this end, the long end, and I'm going to start wrapping it around the 20 gauge wire. It's not easy to do, but if you keep practicing, eventually you'll get it. You want to make sure those wraps are up against each other. So I'm just going to keep wrapping. And I'm only going to do about 1/2 inch or so, because now I need to hold on to it with my fingers. So I'm just going to keep wrapping until I use up this entire piece of wire. And you do want to make sure that those wraps are sitting up against each other. So I'm just going to keep wrapping it around, as you can see. And I don't like to use my nails to slide those wraps up against each other, but unfortunately, that's the way it goes. You could use pliers to slide them down, but it's just as easy to use my fingernails. It does get a little tough near the end because you don't have very much to hold on to. Now, when you get to the point where you don't have very much left, it's a good idea to use some pliers. But just plan on wasting about 1 inch of it. And I think I'm going to stop. So that's what we have. I'm going to trim off the excess. And I'm going to squash that little end in, because you don't want anything sticking out. And now we're going to uncoil this end. So I'm going to use my pliers for this. Trim off this end and burnish that little end in. So that's what we have so far. So now we need to slide these coils down towards where these two coils are. So I'm going to use my pliers again. I'm going to insert them into the two coils. And before I start coiling, I'm going to slide these bronze coils, these little coils, towards the big coils. And I'm going to stop right there. I don't know if you guys can see that. That's where the other end is. So now I'm going to very carefully coil this entire thing around my pliers. You want to do it carefully. And I'm going to continue to go around until I get 2 of the gold coils. And I'm going to stop right there. So now we're going to trim this off. And you need to make sure that you don't cut those other 2 coils. So I'm going to come in here real carefully and trim it off. So this is what we have. Isn't that adorable? I love it. So now we have a total of 6. And I think they're super cute. So now we're going to move on to the next step. Now that I've created all the components, I'm ready to start assembling this necklace. As you can see, I have all my beads lined up. And this is actually the next day. It got really late last night after building all these. And so I decided to go to bed and pick it up the next morning. So I may sound a little different, I'm not sure. It usually takes me a while to wake up. But anyway, as you can see, I have my 6mm beads. I have the 3.5 English cup beads. I have the pebble chips and the seed beads. And I have my SilverSilk pipe chain. And like I said, we're only going to use a 4-inch piece. So let me go ahead and measure it. I'm going to cut it right here. Now you can make yours longer, obviously, depending on your design, but my necklace is going to be about 17 inches long. It's going to sit right at my collarbone. I've cut myself a 20-inch piece of beading wire. So the first thing I'm going to do is feed the beading wire through the tube, the pipe chain, I should say. Bring it to the center, just like that. And now I'm going to load the dangles and the coil beads. I'm going to start with one of the coil beads. Just like this. And then a dangle. Let me slide this fellow back on. So this is what we have. Another coil bead. Doesn't that look cute? I think it looks adorable. And now a dangle. And another coil bead. I think it looks super cute. Now I have to make sure that I put the longest one in the middle, so I'm going to slide this one on next. And another coil bead. And now this one. A coil bead. Actually, this is incorrect. I should have put that one on first. So let me do that. And now the coil bead. And the final dangle. And the coil bead. I really love these coil beads. I think they really add a lot to the design. Here are my two end caps. I'm going to slide one on this end. And you really don't need glue, guys, because I'm going to have beads up against it and it's going to hold it in place. But if you want to add glue, that's fine too. So that's what it's going to look like. I'm going to place a clip at this end. You can use a bead stopper if you want to. And now I'm going to start loading some beads. And normally I would use my magic rods to set up my bead patterns, but today I'm just going to go ahead and load the beads directly onto my beading wire. So I'm going to start with one of these 3.5mm beads. And it's going to sit up against the bead cap like that. And now 2 seed beads. Another reason I'm not using the rods today is because this beading wire is actually pretty thick and it holds its shape. It's not flimsy, so I'm able to pick up the beads very easily. And now I'm going to load one of these pebble chips. Another 2 seed beads. A 6mm. Another 2 seed beads. A 3.5mm. Another 2 seed beads. A pebble chip. Two seed beads. A 6mm. And I think you get the idea. I'm going to continue the exact same bead pattern until I get the length that I want. Now if this measures 4 inches, I'm going to need to load 6.5 inches worth of beads on this side and 6.5 on that side. And that'll give me 17 inches total. And I may actually do a little bit less than that because the jump rings and the clasp are going to add another inch or so. So in order to save time, I'm going to go ahead and load both sides and I'll meet you back. Okay, I'm back and I've loaded all the beads, as you can see. I did take it to the mirror and hold it up to my chest to make sure that I had the correct length. I recommend you do that before you crimp it off, because even though you may know what length you want, you need to see how it sits on your chest, especially when you have dangles like these. So now we're going to crimp off the ends and attach all of these things. I have 2 crimp tubes. They're size number 3 and they're bead along crimp tubes. I have 2 wire guardians, and these have channels that are pretty thick, which is what you need when you're using thick beading wire. Although to be quite honest, guys, this beading wire is so thick you really don't need wire guardians, but it's up to you what you want to do. I have 2 crimp tube covers. I believe they measure 5 or 6 millimeters. I have a lobster clasp and 2 6mm jump rings. So now we're ready to finish off the necklace. And by the way, when you cut your beading wire, you want to make sure you leave at least 2 inches at each end so you have enough room to do the crimping. I'm going to slide on one of these crimp tubes. And now the wire guardian. I'm going in one end, like this. And now I'm going to go in this other end. And now I'm going to go in through the crimp tube. Take out the slack. Let me close up these little legs a little bit. And now I'm going to use my crimping pliers. I'm going to place the crimp tube inside that first notch right there, the deep one. Separate your beading wire and go ahead and squeeze. Turn it on its side. And now if you'll notice, there are 3 notches up front. I usually use the middle one. So I'm going to place the crimp tube sideways inside that middle one. Let me just get it in there and then I'll show you. Just like that. As you can see, it's inside that middle divot. And now I'm going to squeeze it, and that folds the crimp tube over. I usually go to the first divot, the smaller one, and tighten it up. And you can even use the tip. Now this beading wire is so thick that I'm not going to be able to thread it back through these beads, so I'm just going to snip it off. As long as you do a good job crimping, it shouldn't be a problem. So I'm going to come in here with these nippers as close as I can and snip it off. And now I'm going to slide on a crimp tube cover, just like this. I like to use these crimping pliers to close up my crimp cover. You want to do it nice and slow so you don't dent the metal. I usually go around the whole thing to get a nice round shape. And that looks pretty good. It's as good as it's going to get. So now you want to definitely check your end caps. Make sure they're sitting on top of that pipe chain properly. Take out the slack. Let me check this one. That looks pretty good. Now you want to take out the slack, but you want it to be fluid, okay? You don't want it too stiff. It's a good idea to curl it like this to make sure that it's nice and fluid. Let me go ahead and feed this tube on. And now my wire guardian. And you'll have to excuse my shaking hands because I had 2 cups of coffee this morning, and that always makes me tremble a little bit. So now I'm going to feed the end through this tube, this crimp tube, and take out the slack. Let me close up these legs a little bit. And that's pretty good. It's as snug as it's going to get without it being too tight. So now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to place the tube inside the first divot. Give it a squeeze. Turn it sideways. Place it inside the middle divot. Make sure it's in there properly. Fold it over and tighten it up. Once again, I'm going to cut off the excess. Slide on the cover. Like that. And close it up. Boy, my hands are really shaky this morning. I don't think I've had the shakes this bad before. That's good enough. And now we just need to attach the clasp. So let me open up this jump ring. Attach it to this end. Attach the clasp. Whoops. and close up my jump ring. And now let me open up this one. And attach it to this end and close it up. So here's my finished necklace. I really love the colors and I love these coil beads. I think they're so much fun. And I don't know if you guys can see that having the thick beading wire makes it possible for the necklace to sit properly. Otherwise these strands wouldn't sit like this. I don't know if I'm explaining myself, but if the beading wire is too thin, this part of the necklace would be too flexible compared to this part. So anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. As always, I'd like to go ahead and put this necklace on and show you what it looks like. So let me do that and I'll see you in a few moments. Isn't this a beautiful necklace? I absolutely love it. I love working with SilverSilk pipe chain, I really do. And guess who just jumped on my lap? My beautiful boo-boo. He's actually doing a little bit better today. He really is. But the thing that I've noticed lately is that he's been doing a lot of sleeping. And I just think that it's because he's an old cat. So I'm probably gonna see more of that. But anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. I hope I've inspired you. Go out and make your own necklaces. Thank you so much for watching. I'm looking forward to seeing you again. Have a great day and I'll see you next time. Bye.